Hi everybody, it's Educator Emily again with ZooMontana, and I'm here today with Johnny, our corn snake, and we are going to read you the story of Verity as part of Billings Public Library's summer reading program. On a small tropical island, the sun rose high above the steamy jungle. A mother python was sending her hatchlings out into the forest, the way all mother pythons do. "Grow up big and green as the tree's leaves," she called to her little yellow babies as they happily scattered among the trees. But Verdi dawdled. He was proudly eyeing his bright yellow skin. He especially liked the bold stripes that zigzagged down his back. Why the hurry to grow up big and green, he wondered. Maybe some of the older snakes in the jungle could tell him. Verdi ventured into the treetops to look for them. Umbles, Aggie, and Ribbon were lazing on some branches nearby. Verity peered at their droopy green bodies. "It's not polite to stare," chided Aggie. Umbles burped and groaned. "It's taken nearly 4 weeks for that last lizard to digest. I surely like lizards, but lizards don't like me." "Why don't lizards like you?" asked Verity. "Don't interrupt," Umbles grumbled. "Dear me," whined Aggie, "if I don't shed soon, this itchy skin will drive me bananas." Verity tapped a tune with his tail as he waited to speak. "Stop that, Verity. It makes me nervous," Ribbon complained. "Besides, you'll never grow up to be properly green, always interrupting and constantly fidgeting." Verity couldn't imagine being in such a hurry to be like them, and he really wanted to keep his sporty stripes. Hoping to find snakes that weren't so boring, Verity slipped away. Dozer was snoring in a tree, not far from the others. "Hello," said Verity. "Do you want to climb trees with me?" "I'm tired," Dozer grumbled. "Go do a few laps around the jungle, okay?" Verity's heart sank. Greens were not only lazy and boring, they were rude. At the top of a very tall tree, Verity gripped one branch with his tail and another with his little snake jaws. "I will never be lazy, boring, or green," he thought. "I will jump and climb and keep moving so fast that I will stay yellow and striped forever." Then Verity let go. From a distance, the greens watched. "Oh my," they chorused. Ribbon shook his head. "At this rate, he'll be lucky to make it to his first molt." Aggie nodded. "He'll likely put an eye out on a branch." Umbles moaned. "He might not even live to turn green." But one day, Verity's skin began to peel, revealing a pale green stripe stretching along his whole body. "Cack!" he gasped. "How can this be? I'm the speediest snake in the jungle, and I'm still turning green." He raced down to the river, grabbing up a mouthful of rough leaves. Verity flung himself into the water. "If I can't run this green off, I'll scrub it off," he thought. His frantic splashing caught the eye of a bottom feeder, cruising the murky depths. "Yum," the old fish hummed. "Lunch." Before the fish could haul Verity under, the frightened snake bit him on the nose. Ah, poof! With a blast of his rubbery lips, the great fish sneezed, sending Verity into the air. Slapping onto the soggy shore, Verity skidded out of reach. "Phew, that was close," he sputtered. Every inch of his body was covered with wet, goopy mud. Kinda lumpy, kinda brown. It sure beats being green." He left the mud on. But the soft brown muck dried into a hard gray shell, and Verity could barely move. Even if he budged, the stuff cracked off in jagged chunks. As each piece fell away, Verity could see that his body was even greener than before. "This is terrible!" cried Verity. He pictured himself hanging around in droopy loops, itching and complaining and worrying all day like the old greens. He looked up into the sky where the sun blazed a beautiful yellow, just like the color he used to be. Then he pulled a vine to the top of the tree. Launching himself from the treetop, Verity startled a flock of colorful birds. He became dizzy with delight, sure the bright sun and his lofty speed would turn him golden again. In his joy, Verity forgot that he would fall back to earth. Whippity, whappity, flip, flap, wham! Plummeting through the trees, Verity landed in a crooked sprawl across a log on the forest floor. Couldn't move. Help, he croaked. As usual, the Greens had been watching Verity's antics. They moved quickly to where he lay. Didn't we say it would come to this? Umble said, shaking his head. Aggie sighed. Lucky thing he's still got 2 good eyes. They gently lifted Verity up to a safer place where they could watch over him while he healed. Neatly splinted to a branch, Verity had no choice but to listen to the Greens as they gabbed. Remember how I used to streak across the forest floor? Ribbon asked. Quick as lightning, answered Aggie, and I climbed giant trees like they were nothing. They grew taller then, you know. The things I dared to run down and swallow, Umbles bragged, wild boar were no match for me. Verity was astonished. You used to run and climb and hunt giant pigs? What happened? Ribbon crashed. Just like you, Aggie replied. I took a terrible fall and almost put an eye out. Then old Umbles here nearly choked to death. Now we all prefer the quiet life. A warm perch, a little sunshine, and an occasional good meal. The Greens rambled on about their days of glory, and Verity settled in onto his branch. Finally, one afternoon, Umble said, Looks like you're ready to go again. He carefully untied Verity from the branch. You're welcome to come with us, said Aggie. Ribbon agreed. The 3 Greens slipped quietly back into the forest. Verity wasn't ready to join them. He wasn't sure where he wanted to go, so he just stretched and stayed put while the sun went down. He listened to the forest come alive. Time passed. The moon and sun took turns in the sky. Verity marveled as the full moon grew thinner every night. Then he watched patiently as it slowly grew round again. He wondered why he hadn't noticed that before. Verity became so green he blended perfectly in with the leaves. He was so still that the other creatures walked right by without even seeing him. One fine morning as Verity basked in the sunshine, 2 small yellow snakes approached. They tapped and fidgeted as they stared. Get a load of that old green guy, one of them whispered. Do you think he ever moves? The other snickered. I seriously doubt it. They're just like I used to be, he thought. And now I'm what I was afraid to be. He looked at his big green body and slowly smiled. How would you like to climb trees with me? He asked. With you? The yellows were astounded. I'll even show you my fancy figure 8, Verity replied, though he was a little worried about putting his eye out. With practice, the 3 snakes performed a perfect triple figure 8. Leaping and looping with his little striped friends, Verity laughed. I may be big and very green, but I'm still me. The end. This here is Johnny the corn snake. Now, Johnny the corn snake is pretty cool because he is partially albino, which means he partially lacks some pigment in the cells that make up his scales and his eyes, which is why he's this really light orange color as opposed to being a little bit darker. Now, in the wild, corn snakes tend to live in cornfields, and they eat the pests that inhabit those cornfields, such as mice and other small rodents. Here at the zoo, Johnny still eats mice and other rodents. He gets them about once a week, every Sunday. Thank you for visiting us today as part of the Billings Public Library Summer Reading Program. Your code for today is Animal Stories. This code right here. Add this to your account for extra points. And if you're not already signed up for the Summer Reading Program, please visit the library's webpage for more information. Bye, everybody.
Cool.